Tena koto, tena koto, tena tatuo katoa. Welcome. I am Gloria Gomez, Plans Executive Committee member, and supporting this session and activity organized by our events team. It is wonderful to see you all here today for the webinar with Mojito Jione, Empowering STEM Educators in Fiji, Integrating OERs and Technology in the Classroom. Before we do introductions, I will begin with a karakia to start so we can center ourselves for the session. Paya te matauranga kia marama, kia fai takena mahi katoa, tumaya, tukaha, aroha atu, aroha mai, tatuo ia tatuo katoa. Seek knowledge for understanding, have purpose in all that you do, stand tall, be strong, let us show respect for each other. Today's session is part of APO Week. The Flexible Learning Association of New Zealand, FLANZ, and the Open and Distance Learning Association of Australia, ODLA, have joined efforts to offer the Asia Pacific Online and Distance Education Week. Our third and last event for the APOD Week starts now. This event coincides with the European Open and Digital Learning Week. Soon you'll see in the chat information on where to register and how to participate, because there are still a few sessions happening in Europe, and also how you can become a FLANZ member, or if you like to check out our website. Mojito Jione is an open education design architect at the Center for Flexible Learning at the University of the South Pacific. This session is titled Empowering STEM Educators in Fiji, Integrating OERs and Technology in the Classroom. Well, Mojito, I think that now I leave the floor to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction and also for this opportunity to present today. I'd just like to check whether my audio and camera is okay, and then I'll carry on.
Audio is fine here. What about for everyone else? Perhaps a thumbs up to say if the audio is okay.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you also for your time to listen to this presentation. And my presentation today is on, well, the focus is on integrating OERs and technology in the classroom with the goal of empowering STEM educators in Fiji. And the focus has been on secondary education, so teachers in the secondary level and in the STEM subjects. So the outline for my presentation today is basically I'm going to give you a background of what we did early this year, the design in terms of the workshop that was carried out, the outcomes of this workshop, and also a little bit of evaluation in terms of the feedback that we got from our teachers, our participants, and then a discussion on some of the challenges that that was faced during the workshop. And so in terms of our background, this is part of the Pacific Partnership for Open Distance and Flexible Learning. So it's in the Pacific, and it's based on work stream 3, Building Resilience in Pacific Education Systems, with the focus is on building teachers and officials' capacity in online distance and flexible learning. So it's something that's been driven by the Commonwealth of Learning and also PACFold. And just to give a little bit background on PACFold, PACFold is a collaboration between the Commonwealth of Learning and USP. So the director for Center for Flexible Learning is also the director for PACFold. And through PACFold, we manage some of the activities under this Pacific Partnership. And of course, I'm from the Center for Flexible Learning, and I'm working predominantly in the open education space. And just a background on Fiji, and it'll be important for you to understand how Fiji is divided into divisions, administrative divisions. And when we conducted this workshop, we went to 3 of the divisions. And for the last division, so there's Northern Division, which is up top here. We have the Central, where I'm currently at, so Suva, this is the central part, and then we have the Western Division, and then the Eastern, it actually encompasses all the islands to the southeast, but also this island here at the top is part of the Eastern, and this is where I'm from, Rotuma, and we're the most northern island. That's why they have to insert us into this map. And so when I will present data on our workshops, it'll be based on the divisions, because that's how we conducted the workshop. And also in each division, we had 5 clusters. And so those, what do we mean by 5 clusters, is that we had 5 different workshops happening at the same time in each division. And so we had 5 teams of facilitators running these workshops at different venues in that division, focusing on STEM teachers in secondary education. And also in the beginning, we conducted one session with the headquarters for Ministry of Education. So that's the background in terms of Fiji's administrative divisions, and also the participants that we targeted. So the objectives for this workshop, and we're pretty much trying to get our teachers to understand what OERs are and how important they can be in education, so their benefits and challenges. And we looked at copyright and licensing as they relate to OER. And also we showed them how to search for these OERs and evaluate them, and then how to integrate them into their own teaching. And then apart from that, we had AI, introducing them to some AI tools like ChatGPT, and some collaborative tools and platforms such as Google Workplace and other tools. So I wanted to also acknowledge the team of facilitators that, and these are all my colleagues from the Center for Flexible Learning. And so together with the team, we were able to go out into the divisions in 5 teams conducting these workshops. And so these are the teams, the people behind the team, and they're all either learning experience designers or instructional designers and education technologists. And then we have the team behind the scenes, our director, Dr. Rajni Chand, who all the negotiations with the ministry, our projects officer and executive secretary, as well as our admin clerk and secretary. These are the people that made all the logistics possible. This was a huge task, a huge undertaking for us to conduct a national-wide workshops, and we had to work with the Ministry of Education, and all these things were made possible, by the team that, they weren't facilitating, but they were facilitating all the logistics behind it. And so this is a picture of the first session that we had with the Ministry of Education, and it's with the Curriculum Advisory Services team. And we had this at the University of South Pacific. And so I'd like to also acknowledge Remy Vande, who was quite helpful in organizing the ministry, and Rihanna Hussein as well. So these two ladies helped us design the workshops and also the logistics behind everything in terms of booking the venues, the travels, sending out circulars to the teachers. So it's a huge undertaking, and so it's good to acknowledge the people behind this. So the design, we basically had sort of a blended type of workshop, and we had 3 online courses that were on Moodle. So we had a main course page, and within that main course page, we had 2 courses, OER Basics and Introduction to AI and ChatGPT. And these 2 courses were added as use this plugin called sub-courses. So you can actually embed these courses within another course on Moodle, and then you can track whether they've completed these courses. And so these were the 3 online courses created on Moodle, and with the purpose of tracking the teachers' participation in this workshop. And then we had a 2-day face-to-face session. So these sessions, we basically covered the content for under OERs, and then technology-enabled learning and generative AI tools. And we ensured that teachers followed through the OER Basics course, where they covered all the content for that and also submitted their work on Moodle. And our facilitators, they would mark the submissions to see whether they have met the criteria for OERs. And so the timeline, it was early this year. We had the Western Division, western part of Fiji, on the 6th of March, 7th of March. And then we moved on to the northern side, which is mainly in Vanuatu, Taveuni. And that was on 13th and 14th of March. And then we focused on the central, on the 30th of April. And then for the Eastern Division, because the islands are so spread out, we couldn't go to each tiny islands, and it was hard so when we had the school holidays, the Eastern teachers that were on they were in the capital, they came and attended the last workshop at USP, and so we had the teachers from the very remote islands come and be part of this workshop. So here's a snippet of the course page that we had, where we enrolled everyone into this course page, and then we had groups set up, and each facilitator was allocated to a group, and they would communicate with their groups. They would also mark the submissions of the groups, and so it was Moodle was used as a place not just to track the learning, but also communicate with our teachers before and after the workshops. And so we had also this OER Basics course, and this OER Basics course was repurposed from the Digital Skills for OERs course. And basically, I took one module to simplify the course so that teachers could just work with images only, to look for images that are openly licensed and integrate that into their lessons. And so that would give us a good opportunity to see whether they understood what the Creative Commons license were and how they could find these OER images and put them in their lesson. And so at the end of this OER basics, they have to create a lesson plan, and they have to use 2 OER images. So we are looking for their skill in how to find OER images, how to attribute them, and also how do you mix images that have different licenses. So this was a good indication of whether our teachers understood open licensing, copyright, and OERs as a general concept. And so this is the criteria that we use. So this screenshot is taken from the assignment Dropbox that we have them drop in their lesson plan with their OER images. And we looked at their layout. We weren't too strict about layout. It didn't have to be overly fancy or complicated. We just looked at whether it was just neat and the layout did not, or the layout was easy to read. And the learning activity, we also looked at that, whether the activity that they had designed was actually added value to the learning experience. And then the last part is the legal part, and that's where we look at the attribution. The correct attribution is done, and this one was straightforward. If you did not get it right, you actually fail this assignment. So that was the submission assignment for the OER basics course. So this is the original digital skills for OERs course that was created by Dr. Wayne McIntosh and his team. And so if you want to look at the original content for the OER basics course, you can follow this link, which I'll share later on after this presentation. The other course was the Introduction to AI and ChatGPT. And so there's been so much interest and excitement over AI and ChatGPT. We also thought that it would be good to introduce teachers to ChatGPT and how to use these AI technologies appropriately. And they only had one forum activity to complete, where they would go and create their accounts on ChatGPT, do some prompting, and then share their chat conversation with ChatGPT or in the forum. And then they had a quiz just to test their knowledge. So this was very basic, and teachers really appreciated this one because they got to know about AI technologies, well, specifically generative AI technologies as ChatGPT. And as I had said earlier, so the main activity was for them to interact with ChatGPT and share the chat to the forum with a brief reflection on how did they find. And of course, there was content on how to prompt ChatGPT and some of the ethical issues that arise or in the use of AI. And so this was the activity that was used to just see whether they were able to prompt ChatGPT properly, whether did they get the solution or the response that they wanted. If they didn't, then we discussed further on how they can improve their prompt. So the face-to-face sessions we had them at the schools. So the Ministry of Education, they reached out to the principals to avail some of the schools to conduct these face-to-face sessions. So in a particular division, we had 5 venues in a division, and all the schools closest to the venues, they would attend these sessions. And we basically started from 8:30 in the morning till 3 p.m. So it was a whole day exercise with the teachers, and we went through the OER basics course, the Chat GPT, the AI course, and for each session we had two facilitators that were on site to conduct the workshop, as well as provide support to the teachers. And so the face-to-face session, because we had the online components available before these sessions and we had them enrolled, our focus was to ensure that they had access to the Moodle courses. So we got them to register, enroll in these sessions if they weren't enrolled, and then we got them to basically understand how everything was designed and what was the expectations out of them. So not all the schools had the same facilities. Some schools had labs. In some schools, we had it in just a classroom with an interactive board. And so these are some things that we had to contend with, that the infrastructure out in the schools were not all the same. And so whatever was there, we just had to make do with it. And so this is one of the better equipped schools with a nice computer lab. I think it was just recently refurbished or built, and it had an interactive board and quite air conditioning and everything. So as I was saying, that the focus was to get them to register, and then we were doing self-registration. So if we had a guide on how to self-register, we also had a guide on how to enroll in the courses using the enrollment key. And in the first day, we focused on open educational resources. On the second day, we looked at tools, technology tools like Google Workplace. One of the things that they enjoyed was the spreadsheet, Google Sheets, and Google Slides in terms of how they could collaborate with one another. And so all the participants, whether at the face-to-face session, they had to submit their work online. And even though we had set a program for the sessions, I still left it up to the facilitators to actually gauge whether they wanted to change things around based on where teachers were in terms of OERs and AI technologies. So they had the freedom to change things around. And so our participants, our target was 500 teachers, and we fell just short of that 500. We had 486 teachers, and it was pretty evenly distributed in terms of gender. And so about 50.6% female and 49.2% male. So the participants by division, there were 161 from the Western. So the Western and Central, they had more numbers. These are the most populated areas for Fiji. And then you had the Northern and Eastern. Eastern because they were quite low because they are from remote islands. So not everyone, well, the schools are not many in these islands. It's usually one school per island. And so we just had a few from the Eastern Division, so 37 in total. And we had this session here at the University of the South Pacific. So the outcomes. So as I said, we had 486 teachers. They attended this workshop. We had 14 facilitators. We did 14 face-to-face sessions. And of course, we had our online courses. And in terms of completions, and so the first one, the general course. So the general course is where the completion is based on whether they've completed the OER basics course and the Introduction to AI and ChatGPT. And so 41.6% they completed these two online courses. And then when we look at the courses on their own, OER Basics, 42.8% completed that. And then Introduction to AI and ChatGPT, 80.7% completed that course. Now, the reason I could see that there was a huge difference in completion, because in the OER Basics, they had to actually create a lesson plan. They had to find two OER images, and then they had to submit this online. And so even though teachers submitted, we had to mark their work, provide feedback, and ask them to resubmit. And so it probably was a bit too difficult for some teachers, but still, this was a good completion rate, given that most of our online courses, the freely open ones here at USP, does not reach that level of completion. So what did our teachers say about the workshops? And so I had them go through an evaluation online, of course, and they were asked on aspects of the workshop, whether they were satisfied with the overall structure and delivery. And so pretty much these aspects, they had the same satisfaction, with over 90% had positive ratings for this, whether it was structure and delivery. I found the provided resources useful in enhancing my understanding of STEM education with OER and technology. The workshop objectives were clearly communicated and achieved, and also the practical activities such as finding and integrating OERs were engaging. And so instructors also effectively communicated the concept related to OER, AI, and technology-enabled learning. So all these aspects, they all had positive ratings over 90%, with just a few in the neutral and negative. And then we had open-ended questions where we asked them about usefulness of content, challenges and suggestions for improvement, plans to use knowledge and skills from the workshop, and suggestions for future workshops. And so this was what brief, like a summary of what people said. And a lot of teachers, and this was also feedback I got from the facilitators, that teachers really expressed their appreciation for this AI and OERs that we conducted. And so it was a very positive reaction from our teachers. And so the comments that they were placing in these open-ended questions suggested that, and they also appreciated the Google Apps, their utility and creating learning materials collaboratively, and also OER. Some teachers, they were using OERs, but they did not know that it was OER. So just being aware that some of the resources that they were using were OERs, and then now they can actually evaluate resources on whether they are a particular OER, whether they were the 6 license for Creative Commons. So they could evaluate that. And they also appreciated the practical activities. So because they had to create things and they also had to interact with the technology, we had demonstrations where we showed them what to do, and then they also had to show us that this is how they did the activities. And so in some sessions, we actually changed it up a bit, and we asked them to present in groups how they created their lessons, the images they used, and how they chose their Creative Commons license for their lesson. So yeah, very positive comments from teachers in terms of the usefulness of content. And then we had some additional comments on the workshop, and this is where they suggested that there could have been more time. Some people felt that the pace was too fast for some even thought that it was too slow. And so we had varying levels of teachers with exposure to technology and OERs, and so it's understandable to get these comments. And some of the suggestions for improvements is to have specific subject-based content for, say, example, chemistry, biology, and so many teachers wanted that, but because we had all the STEM subjects in one room, it was very hard to just focus on one STEM subject. In terms of content and delivery, they wanted more interactive sessions and practical demonstrations, and they wanted advanced topics and more depth in certain topics. So general comments, engaging they found the format engaging and the opportunity to participate actively. And they found it also very valuable professional development opportunity. In fact, many of the teachers reflected that they did not have such professional development for a number of years, and so they really appreciated this opportunity to have these workshops. So, what do they plan to use what they've learned in the workshops? And so the first one is lesson planning. They want to enhance their lesson planning using OERs in their lessons. So now they've become experts in finding very good quality images, OERs, and they can do that using search engines or platforms such as Flickr. Um, they wanted to conduct professional development amongst their peers. So some teachers said that they will go back to their schools and they will run sessions on OER and AI to just impart to their peers, their colleagues, what they have learned. And they want to use AI and OERs in their teaching, and also Google tools for collaboration. And so there was a lot of interest on collaboration because teachers wanted to work with other teachers on certain things, and they did not know about certain tools that you can use for collaborating. In terms of student engagement, they wanted to introduce interactive learning and practical activities using technology. And so the suggestion for future improvements, so they wanted more focus on specific tools, subject-specific training, longer periods for the training, and advanced topics, as well as interactive and practical activities. They also wanted follow-up workshops. And then the last one is cross-disciplinary learning. So teachers had very good suggestions for the future improvements, and we are actually looking forward to conduct more workshops with the teachers and working together with the Ministry of Education here in Fiji. So challenges. Now, given that this was a national effort, we didn't have much time on our hands because the first workshop was in March, and then we had to plan things around, it was around end of January, February. And so time was a big challenge. And I must commend my colleagues, the team that rallied for us to actually get this done, because without their support, we definitely couldn't get the results that I've just shown you. And the other thing was teachers didn't have a government email, so everyone was using either a Yahoo or a Gmail or a Hotmail, and so it was difficult. Some teachers had more than one email. They registered with one email and then they signed the attendance with another email. And so it was a big challenge at the end to try and consolidate to get a particular number of teachers who attended the sessions and make sure that it matches those who are on the Moodle course. Internet connectivities were we also have challenges with that across the nation. So some places it was good, and in some places it was not so good. And so we just had to make do with whatever connectivity we had. And in some instances, we printed some of our content so that we could distribute to teachers. Devices, well, there was a wide variety of devices, and they were either from the really good ones to the not so good ones or slow devices. And so that was a challenge. Teachers brought their own personal devices, and so we had to work with whatever device that they brought. And some devices did not have the necessary software, but luckily we had options to download open source software and provide that to teachers. The other challenge, and this is from the teacher's side, was they found attributing OERs quite difficult. And this was trying to find the author, the link to the source, and trying to have that attribution at the end. And so many of them in their first submission for the assignment, they had trouble with this attribution of OERs, and we had to clarify with teachers on how to do it, and also provide them with tools where the attribution was done for them. And I think Openverse website, that was one really good one that they found useful. And the other challenge for the teachers was remixing multiple OERs. So they found it difficult on which license, Creative Commons license, was compatible. And so they usually got tripped up in this part when they submitted their assignment. Okay, so that's my last slide, and thank you very much for your attention. And I now open it up for questions.
Mojito, thank you very much. Definitely, I feel like with your project, you are empowering STEM educators in Fiji. As I don't know if everyone else was like me. I know some of your colleagues are here, but the ones who have not worked on this project with you, I think probably I'm thinking that they are like me. Wow, what an amazing project to get done in such a short period of time. I would like to know if someone has a question or a comment on what has been presented. Well, please write your comment in the chat in the meantime. I have a question in the meantime. I have an idea of the challenges. I have an idea of the benefits. And what happens next? So you will continue working with all the teachers, following the same model for a number of years? How is it going to be the follow-up? Continue working with them so they can actually be empowered for a long period of time, and then also they can transfer that knowledge to their colleagues. What is the next phase?
Yeah, well, in terms of the project, I don't think there's anything planned for the next phase. This was the main activity.
Yeah.
But from our side, because we use that Moodle site, it's still open to the teachers. And so even after the workshop ended, we still had teachers posting in the forums, asking questions for clarification. Some even finally submitted their activities, and so we still had that opportunity to interact with them. And then we're also planning a couple of workshops along the same OERs for next year on another project. So we're working with the ministry. It's not easy because the logistics behind this is very it's quite complex to run these things face to face. And so it all depends on the ministry and how what they allow us to do. And we've been working closely with the Ministry of Education. We've really established a good working relationship. And so I foresee that next year we'll have more sessions where, well, it'll all depend on funding as well. So that's another limiting factor, is that who's going to fund these things when it happens.
I understand. When running projects and working with people who are distributed in different places, and there are different challenges and ways of using technology, I have noticed that lots of thoughts for innovation can happen as one is carrying out the project as a group and with everyone. Do you have any thoughts of innovations that you see that could happen using technology that we all know, or perhaps new technology? Or when you were talking about, well, we needed to adapt some of the things we were doing because of the local technology, were they sparking some ideas as to how things could be done in each region? For example, I'm curious about those reflections that you and your team had as you were doing it. Anything sparks to mind?
Oh, definitely. There was one particular session that I conducted, and teachers wanted to use the Google spreadsheet and this was for administrative purpose. They wanted to compile marks for their well, whether it's for attendance or particular subjects, and they wanted to work on one spreadsheet. And so they actually, when we presented the Google spreadsheets to them and showed them what was possible, these were some of the ideas that they came up with. Said, oh, actually we can do this this way. And so that's when they started sharing their email addresses and started working on one document or one spreadsheet or one PowerPoint. And so they can use it for administrative purposes, or if not, when they're creating lessons, they can easily share. So they realize that when it comes to sharing with their colleagues, that these technologies actually help them share it easily, because all you needed was an email address, and then within Google Spreadsheets you have comments and you have the chat facility. And so they found it like really exciting that they've been working on separate Excel sheets and sending it to teachers in the schools. And so they found that this was one of the first things that I think that they realized, that they can streamline a lot of things by just working on one spreadsheet or one PowerPoint slide.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Ala has a question. Could you please go ahead, Ala, unmute yourself?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mojito. I don't have a question, but just a comment. I was part of the team that went around Fiji to do the workshops. Just further from your question, your first question regarding what happens after this. As Mojito has rightfully highlighted, that we have to we are always available to do professional development and training for teachers, but we have to be mindful of what the Ministry of Education expects. But one thing that we have really encouraged the teachers in our sessions is, learning is sharing. That's a philosophy that we share with them. Learning is sharing. So we've encouraged them to form communities of practice within their disciplines, within their divisions, and that's something that for the different locations that we have been assigned to, we have actually they've actually got together to say we'll meet at this particular time to continue the conversations. In some cases, there were already communities of practice created for different disciplines, like in the, for example, technology in the IT. So yeah, so we just kind of encourage them to continue with that because, post workshops, communities of practice is a way to continue to sustain what they have learned, but also um, be exposed to other different ways of innovative things as well. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see that the community of practice and everyone learning together and sharing and finding innovations together with the facilitators will actually empower even more this project that you have started, that is very wonderful. Thank you, Ala, for sharing your thoughts and experience on this. Is anyone else would like to share their thoughts? Another colleague of Mojito as well?
I can see this pretty much my colleagues are all
Yes.
here in the participants
That's the
list.
reason why I'm saying that it would be wonderful, perhaps just before the last 2 minutes, someone else would like to share their experience. I have been part of projects like this in the past. And one thing that I know for sure that as a designer of technology, I always wanted is that the project continues before we go away, after we go away, after our efforts move on into the community. Ala, would like to say something else? I see your hand raised.
Thank you. Yeah, this was just an observation that I had when we conducted the training, was in relation to accessibility and the accessibility to technology, and also the types of technologies that were at their disposal for the teachers. And the two sites that my colleague and I went to, were in the remote island. One was sort of like out of Suva on the main island, Singatoka, and out on the remote island. So what we observed was there seemed to be a flipped in the access to technology. How the perception is that in the urban, uh, you have the assumption that teachers would have all the latest and the reliable internet connectivity and all that. But in fact, what we found was that teachers that were coming from the remote schools had really good technology equipment, tools. In one particular school, they had teachers. All teachers had laptops, assigned laptops. They had good connections, and I was comparing that to what I saw in the urban area, like in a school that's very close to the university that we're at, where my son goes to school. There they didn't have the technology. In fact, they had blackboard. They still had blackboards, but these teachers were sharing. They had whiteboards, and they had mounted LCD projectors in their schools, and these were in the remote school. So that, for me, it was an interesting observation, in that the urban and the rural, the perceptions that we normally have for access to technology, and in this case, it seems to be there's a flip. And for me, like it's quite concerning, and that I think where the emphasis seems to be on the rural and remote islands, but in fact, it's actually, in terms of digital divide, it's actually uh, the urban-based schools are being ignored. So I think the lesson coming out of this is to ensure that there's parity between the rural and the urban, regardless, and not that the urban, in this case, surprisingly, became the other flip of the digital divide. So that was kind of the interesting observation from the training itself.
Anna, what a wonderful way to close this discussion today. What you are actually saying for me, the way that I am taking it in, is that our perceptions and assumptions for different settings and spaces and people are challenged when we are developing projects like this. It's like we design, we have an idea, an assumption of some perceptions that certain things are one way and other things are the other way. But in fact, when we go and observe and spend time with people, we learn more, and our perceptions are also revised. So I think this project that Mojito has brought to us today is wonderful in the sense of all the many things that we can do, and also all the many ways that educators embrace technology or not embrace technology, and how those observations and those types of embraces invite us to revise our opinions and our designs. Wonderful. Now we are a little bit close to the time to end the session. So I would like to thank Mojito for your presentation and insights. And thanks for all the attendees for being here and interact with us. I'd like to share again the links to join the events this week and to learn more about FLANs. The Apod Week events have ended today, but our European counterparts are still running theirs. I think there are two more to go. And now I'm going to, our session will end with closing karakia. Kia whakairia te tapu, kia watea ai te ara, kia turuki whakataka ai, kia turuki whakataka hai, haumie, huie, taikie. Restrictions are moved aside, so the pathway is clear to return to everyday activities. Kia ora, and thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
and have a
you
good
so
day.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.